Okay, so today on Breakfast with Phil, we're gonna make a communal omelette. That's 60 eggs for 100 thou. In other words, about £5 for 60 eggs. We're not gonna use all 60. Thank you, let's go. Okay, so I've sliced the eggs, the onions, the tomatoes and the garlic, and we're gonna add the eggs. This is for 4 people. Guess how many eggs we're gonna use? So we're ready with the omelette. As you can see, it's for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. Wow. Okay, Andy, tell me, out of 10, how many?
I'd give it a 10.
10? How many out of 10?
11.
11, David?
12.
12. Okay, cool. Well, let's enjoy the food. Woo! Hi, today I'm going to be discussing the changing face of tourism. In fact, the first production of Breakfast with Phil each week will be related to the changing face of tourism all the way up to Christmas. There'll be different topics, and I'll give you a little bit of an insight on the things we'll be discussing in the next few months. One of them is an obvious one: attractions. When I first came to Bali, well, what to do? Lounge on the beach, see a temple, and that was about all. Maybe have a massage. Nowadays in Bali, my gosh, you've got so many things on offer. You've got things like quad bikes, whitewater rafting, tubing. In fact, the list is endless. But how did that happen? Well, again, I'll be looking at the history of how tourism has changed and what's made it change. A small anecdote to begin would be about an American surfer who came to Bali approximately 40 years ago. He's flying over Uluwatu and he sees these waves. Whoosh! Where is this? He asks the air hostess, and she tells him this is Uluwatu Beach. Of course he goes. Now in those days there were no steps down. He had to go through paddy fields to get to the beach. But he was a groundbreaker. He did it. And of course, through word of mouth, things get developed, steps get made. Bingo, Uluwatu now is possibly oversurfed. Changes. When I first went to Prague, this is before the downfall, this is during the Cold War. My God, it was so cheap. Things change. Now Eastern Europe isn't quite the cheap destination it used to be, though of course it remains quite cheap. So attractions, cheapness, safety. In certain countries 40 years ago, you could even go to Afghanistan, believe it or not. Nowadays you'd have to be very, very adventurous to become a tourist there. So safety, prices. Singapore, when I first came 40 years ago, wasn't overly expensive. It still had places you could spend $2 or $3, $4 staying the night. I think, if I'm not wrong, that was Bencoolen Street. Now you'll be lucky if you can find something for probably under 100 Singapore. So of course, these are big areas to be discussing, so it won't be done in one day. And as I say, I'll take a certain topic and I'll bring it to life, talk about the history, talk about the changes and the developments. And I'll also do some predictions as far as I can. For example, and you may be surprised, that I believe in 10 years, the Japan that we know and love will have changed. In other words, get to Japan quickly, because in 5 or 10 years, it will be almost unrecognizable. Now, I'm not going to say why. If in the comments you want to, have a go at why, do so. But I will leave my predictions for later parts of this series. So, I appreciate this is a short video. That's what it's all about. We'll be discussing technology, so many things, the airline industry, and of course, one thing to remember, the GDP of the world now is 10% reliant on tourism. When I began, my gosh, it might have been 1%, and it keeps growing, of course. But of course, things can also throw spanners in the works. For example, the pandemic, which almost single-handedly killed tourism in Bali. And it has taken probably the last year and a half to recover. But not only has it recovered, it's bounced back, it's resilient. But of course, things change, and that's the main area. I have to be far more disciplined than I have been. Every week, Sunday or Monday, I will be delivering these videos about the changing face of tourism.
Oh, I almost forgot.